Chuck Belanger here with Maizex Seeds, coming to you from our boardroom since it is the 11th of December. And on this edition of Maizex Moving, we're going to talk about the planting depth trial that we have been doing for the last 3 years. I'll share some results from 2020. So our findings in 2018, we had 11 sites that Greg Stewart had planted throughout the province, and out of those 11 sites, 5 of them showed an increase of more than 5 bushels to the acre once we planted it deeper. By deeper we mean, so if your standard was 2 inches, we like to see you go down 1 inch. So, and then 3 of those sites also showed a decrease in yield when planted deeper. So 2019's findings, we decided that since we saw a pattern in 2018 that we were going to be aggressive, so we planted 30 sites west of Toronto, and including a few sites east of Toronto around the Peterborough-Lindsay area. Of those 30 sites, 9 sites showed an increase of more than 5 bushels when they were planted deeper. 3 of those sites also showed a decrease in yield when it was planted deeper. So 3 sites out of 30 showed a negative, where 27 sites showed at least a positive effect of planting deeper. Now, one thing that was interesting in those 2 years of findings was that both those years planting dates were later than usual. So we decided, let's do this one more year. We had 2 years of good data, but let's try it a 3rd year and see if we could really skew this. And we did. So in 2020, we had 21 sites planted west of Toronto. All but 1 site was planted before the May 9th cold, rain, snow, and temperatures that we had. So it mimicked more of what would be a standard lately in Ontario, where we're talking about planting earlier, where the 2 previous years we planted later. 7 sites showed a negative response to deeper planting. Of the 14 sites that showed a positive response to deeper planting, only 2 of those showed an increase over 5 bushels. So that was quite interesting. It basically stated what I thought all along when we first talked about this, was that this may have something to do with some soil types, and especially when we're planting earlier. So I broke this down a little bit of all the sites that we had, and I looked at clay and clay loam versus sand loam and sand soils. So in the clay soils, there were 9 clay sites that were planted. Of those 9 sites, 5 of them showed a negative effect to deeper planting. And those negative effects were fairly significant. It wasn't just 1 or 2 bushel. We're seeing 14, 18.8, and all different types of tillage practices. The majority of the clay soils were conventionally tilled, and there was 1 that was minimum tilled and the other 2 were no-till. So I know when I first started playing with this and I talked to customers and cooperators in Essex and Lambton and Haldeman and Niagara, they thought I was crazy to do this on clay soils. Well, last year's results kind of showed that. So, and even the ones that did show a positive, there was out of the 4 that showed a positive, 2 of them were over 5 bushel. So clay soils really don't have a very good effect when you plant them deeper earlier in cold soils, and we know that. Most farmers understand that, and they know what they can and cannot do in their soils. There were 12 sites that were on sand and sand loam soils. Of those 12 sites, 3 showed a negative effect to planting deeper, and the other sites all showed a positive effect, but out of that positive effect, nothing was over 5 bushels. So we didn't really see any effect, any uptake or positive effect of planting deeper as we had the last 2 previous years. So when we look at the findings over the 3 years, what do we conclude with this? So I think, like, we're done doing this trial, okay? We beat this one to death, and we're gonna move on to different agronomy work next year. But overall, I think we decided that no matter what you do, if you're going to make a mistake when you're planting, it's better to make that mistake going a bit deeper rather than shallower. Testing in the past has showed that shallow planting, we end up with some very uneven emergence. Uneven emergence can lead to a lot of different things. It can lead to yield reduction, You're getting different size ears. You're not getting the full effect of what that plant can push out in the ear size. And we're also opening ourselves up to maybe some disease. So we get a negative effect to uneven emergence also when it comes to vomitoxins, where we get these nubbin ears where the husk is just too tight and the vomitoxin and disease sets in. So that increases your chance of your dawn numbers being higher in the field. And we find that when you do push your planting depth to 2, 2.5, and even on sandy soils, a lot of farmers are already doing it. They're at 3 inches, right? Because they want that even emergence. And in fact, in sand, they want to get down to moisture. And once you're in that moisture, you get that even emergence coming out. When everything emerges at the same time, then you got a much better chance of having consistent size ears. And consistent size ears leads to better yield. And there was one site here in Chatham, Kent. It was an agronomy site that we went and we did a flag test on. It was quite interesting to see. This field was planted on May 23rd. Okay, so after all that cold came through, and it was stale bedded, and went back 118 hours later. We saw emergence. That's just a little over 4 days, and that's almost unthinkable when you think about it on planting corn. You know, we're looking at 7 to 8, 9 days usually, but with the warm soil temperatures, moisture there, we had emergence at that time. Went in and did the flag test, and what was really interesting, we planted 34,000 seeds per acre, 29 plants. So 29 of those plants emerged on day 1, which is almost unthinkable when you think about it. And then the other 5 or 6 plants that were left to emerged on day 2. So perfect emergence. You wait a little bit later, wait till that soil is fit, and plant your seed. And if you can, put it a little bit deeper just to ensure that you get a nice even emergence. Anyways, like I said, this will be the last year that we do the 2 and 3 inch planting trials. We're going to move on to different and bigger and better things. So thanks for listening today. And if you have any questions, you can contact me at chuck@maizex.com or shoot me any questions you want on Twitter.